think it's safe to say we're good to go. People will slowly trickle in as we are, in the process of presenting this lovely presentation on this wonderful Saturday. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining me in the College Student to Penetration Tester using Discord. My name is Evan Isaac. I am an offensive security consultant at Echelon Risk and Cyber. I have a few credentials under my belt, the EWPTX, ECPBT, EJPT, and a few SecOps group certifications. I'm an administrator of a Discord called Republic of Hackers, which I will talk a bit more about what Republic of Hackers is and why it's important for you to join and network. In addition, I produce content on LinkedIn. I currently have 8,400 followers on LinkedIn and counting. I post twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. EST. So if you don't follow me on LinkedIn, strongly recommend it, not only because, I post great content, but because we get to network and connect. My goal for this presentation is to network and inspire as many people as possible. I've been helping people break into the cybersecurity industry for close to 3 years now, and that's probably never going to stop. So my goal, right, for this presentation is to really show you the benefits of networking within cybersecurity. So before we get started with the presentation, I want everyone to take a step back and think about a 4-word question. And this question is, what makes you different? Now, this 4-word question is very impactful, at least to me, right? Because I'm going to tell a quick story about how this question came up in conversation. So when I was in college, my first year, I had a professor named Russell Boschman. And when I went to Russ, this was my first ever day at class. When I went up to Russ, I got a bit nervous, right? I didn't know what was going on. I was new to, college, right? I was very homesick. So I, was chilling, relaxing, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get like a headache. I start to, panic a little bit. It's because I was homesick and I didn't really know what to do. So what I did instead was I raised my hand and I said, "Hey, professor, I need to leave, right? I can't be here. I need to go. I just don't feel well." And while he said yes, when I went back to my dorm, I looked up at the ceiling and I was like, I don't know why I did that, right? It's my first day in class. I just missed my first ever class at college and I'm basically lost. So I email Russ and I tell Russ, "Hey, I'm sorry that I missed your class. Please let me know what I missed in regards to what work I need to do for next class, as well as anything that I can do to help improve my homesickness." Because again, I'm fairly new to this. So instead of him bashing me and telling me, "Hey, you have this assignment to do, you have this assignment to do," he didn't even bother talking about schoolwork. Instead, he took a step back and he told me, "Hey, why don't you come to my office hours?" In addition to that, in that email, he also wrote a beautiful essay about how he overcame homesickness to try to calm me down and help me through the process. So I scheduled a meeting with him for every Tuesday. And each Tuesday, we would discuss tips and tricks of how to prevent homesickness. Now, I was doing this for close to 2 to 3 months, and I didn't really get much out of it after about a month or so. Instead, we just started becoming, great buddies. So 3 months in, I ask the question, how do I get an internship? Remember, this is my freshman year. And he says, "Evan, I can't help you get an internship." Now, when I went to go to Roger Williams to just see the campus, meet some of the professors, he told me that he would be able to get me an internship. But now he's telling me that he can't. So what is going on? And he said, the reason why I tell students that is because I want them to learn what makes them different, what makes them unique, right? Instead of just saying, "Okay, yeah, I have this buddy that I could try to get you in contact with," you have to put yourself out there. You have to network with people and show, "Hey, I can do this." So I went back to my dorm and I sat down on my bed and I started to write down various different things that I can do. Nothing was really coming to mind that showed any sort of significance that made me unique and different. 2 weeks have gone by and I still had nothing on that piece of paper. So I started to Google. Maybe Google would help me out. But what I realized with Google is that people have already learned and done these things, and I'm just replicating what they've already done. It's not really making me so unique, right? Because it's someone else's idea. I want it to be as unique as possible. So I put Google away and I just left the idea behind. Now, during this process, I was also creating a Minecraft server. Minecraft is a virtual game where you can create a server, you can have a community, you can build plugins and that kind of stuff. So I was the developer and the owner of this Minecraft server. And I would get in contact with my community via Discord. So whenever I had an announcement, right, whenever I needed to talk to staff members, they would get my notifications on this platform called Discord. And I thought to myself, why can't I just make a cybersecurity Discord? So I did. I made a Discord called Cybersecurity and Coding, or CIC for short. And I would start advertising it on all these different Discord servers. But I started to realize that that's not going to really get me anywhere. So I started to advertise it on websites. And my best members were the first 5 members that I had on that CIC Discord. And the reason being is because all 5 of those members were speaking to me. They were asking questions to me. I was asking them questions, and it was just a fantastic conversation to help me break into cybersecurity. Now, as my Discord started to grow, right, from 5 members, it then grew to 50, then 250, to eventually 700 members, I realized that as I gain more following with more members joining my Discord, the less activity that I get on my Discord, right? So let's say I have 200 members on the Discord, only about 15 of them would actually speak and communicate with me, which I didn't think was very good, right? I wanted more interaction. I wanted to learn as much as possible. So I started to join various other cybersecurity Discords. Maybe they can help me out. Maybe they can teach me something of what I'm missing to make my Discord successful. So I joined Republic of Hackers. Now, I see that people are streaming. I see there are events going on. I see the staff members communicating and building a network and growing. And, everyone is having a good time on this Discord. And I thought to myself, why can't I do that? So I messaged one of the staff members and I said, hey, I'm a admin on a Discord server and I'm trying to do the same thing as you guys. Can you help me out? And he said, a magician never tells his secrets. Well, that idea went out the window. But about 2 weeks later, he messages me back and he says, you know what? Why don't we just merge our Discords? Why don't we merge Republic of Hackers and Cybersecurity and Coding, merge it into one, and we'll have just one huge Discord? Now, at the time, right, Cybersecurity and Coding was my baby, right? I didn't want to let it go. But I thought it was best that I have my community and Republic of Hackers merged together so we can form an alliance, essentially. So I told my Discord, hey, we're all migrating over to Republic of Hackers. And within a day, Republic of Hackers grew from 200 members to 600 members. And that Discord was thriving, right? We had streams, people were live streaming, people were talking, people were communicating, people were networking, people wanted to find jobs. And I thought to myself, this is a fantastic way for me to start building a resume, right? I could start talking about how I was streaming on Republic of Hackers, how I was networking, how I was an administrator, right? All this different stuff. And I would go on to these live streams and I would learn from people, right? People would sit me down and say, okay, here's how you do privilege escalation on a Linux machine or a Windows machine. Here's how you do enumeration, right? Using Nmap. So I thought this was a fantastic way and something that I could put on my resume. About a year goes by and I get a message from one of my buddies called Fine. And Fine basically messaged me and said, hey, I have this internship program. I think you're a perfect fit. Why don't you join? All right, sounds good. So I go through the first 2 interviews, and the third interview is with the manager, the big dog, and I have to impress him somehow. The first words that come out of his mouth, though, was, why do you have Discord on your resume? I've never seen it before, right? What's the purpose of you having Discord on your resume? It doesn't really resonate with cybersecurity. So I took a step back and I said, it's finally my time to shine. And I told him, the reason why I did it was because I wanted to be as unique as possible. And I didn't think he would ever see Discord on a resume. I don't think he would ever see that I was live streaming on Discord. I was networking with people. I was communicating and I was building something that could turn into something powerful, like a nonprofit organization. And since he was impressed with it, he said that I was hired on as an intern for that internship. Now that's great and all, and I love the internship. 3 months go by and I finished. After my internship, though, I took the ECPPT certification and I passed. And when I told my Discord about this, instead of everyone, saying congratulations, someone by the name of Leonardo mentioned another user who was a hiring manager at Echelon Risk and Cyber. And this person's username was at Big Daddy. Now, you know, if you ever see a username by the name of at Big Daddy, the first question that comes to mind is this guy actually trustworthy, right? Can I actually send my resume over to this person and him not steal it or do something with it? So I needed more information about it. And once he told me his backstory and who he was, that he was a hiring manager, I decided, you know what? I think it's best that I submit my resume. The interview went great. And the CEO, before he said that I was hired for the internship, said, if you do a very good job, I will get you a full-time position at Echelon. So I worked for it, right? I went November, December, January, all working at Echelon. And eventually, I got the message saying that I was a full-time employee at Echelon Risk and Cyber as an offensive security consultant. So because of this small Discord, because of my small action to becoming unique, I was able to not only obtain internships, I was able to grow a community and obtain a full-time position as an offensive security consultant. So that's my story in a nutshell. And the takeaways that I want people to have is to never be scared to ask questions. Now, this was the first thing that I learned was, do I say a question? Do I not say a question? Do I say a question? Do I not say a question? If you don't say it, you're not going to know, right? So just say it, relax. And if you think it's stupid, I guarantee someone has that exact same question, but they're too scared to say something. So level up, ask it, and people will reply, right? Even if it's stupid, right? Everyone wants to learn and grow, right? You have to start somewhere. Creating content. Being able to produce content will not only help you with your deep understanding of cybersecurity, but also it helps people out, right? If you just learned a new Linux command, why don't you say, hey guys, did you know that awk does this and that? Or do you know that cat, reads a file? Something like that. Why can't you do that, right? Be unique. Try to create content, help people learn, right? Cybersecurity industry, we're not all, clumped up in our little shell, right? We need to express like, hey, we have this vulnerability, we need to fix it. So create some content, maybe about a new CVE that came out. Comment on posts and start conversations. Discord is a fantastic way to get started in networking, right? You can join, you can be completely anonymous, and you could just start talking to people about cybersecurity, and they love it, right? Now, if you're a LinkedIn user like I am, go on to LinkedIn, right? Start commenting on people's posts. If someone says, hey, I just passed a certification, instead of you saying, congratulations, why don't you say, congratulations? What can I do to better prepare myself for this certification? I plan on taking it in the future, right? Start conversations, start connecting with them. Oh, what happened there? No idea. All right, here are the takeaways. I'm not really sure what happened with the previous slide, but failure is your key to success, right? Cybersecurity and coding was a complete failure. Not in the sense of me networking and creating, a thriving platform, but it didn't really get the interaction that I wanted. So being able to speak to people and say, hey, can we merge or can you give me tips and tricks to help succeed? That'll help you, right? Every time that I, right, feel unmotivated, I have to turn it around into a positive because no matter what, life's going to hit you like a truck, right? And you need to make sure that no matter what, you have to stay positive. Because if you start going down the negative route, people are going to see that. People are not going to want to really associate, and it's just going to turn kind of into a problem. So it's best that you just stay positive, keep with it. And even if you think that a conversation failed, that a post failed, that you messed something up at work, it's just one mess up. Like it's not the end of the world. I promise it's not the end of the world. I've done it a bunch of times in my job. So don't feel scared to fail because at the end of the day, our life is similar to a heartbeat, right? You got flat and then you have positives, but you also have negatives, right? So you got to keep going, similar to a heartbeat. Being able to produce creative content is always the best thing, right? If you learn something, say something. Be as creative as possible, as unique as possible. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I know imposter syndrome is a thing, right? I used to have it, but I realized it's not half bad, right? being able to put myself out there, I've not only been able to grow a fantastic community, but I've been able to connect with thousands of people in the cybersecurity industry, right? And it's not just cybersecurity, mind you. It's also hiring managers, CEOs, founders. I get messages all the time from cert providers saying, "Hey, can you test out my cert? Can you, give some sort of guidance or a review about my certification? I'll give it to you for free." Right? But you need to put yourself out there. I wouldn't have Echelon if I didn't put myself out there. I wouldn't have an internship if I didn't put myself out there. So I suggest that you do give it a try. So again, I want to take a step back and think about that similar question, right? What makes you different, right? And let's try to answer this question together, right? So what can make you different? The first thing is networking with people, right? Being able to say, "Hey, let's connect," right? Or, "Hey, my name is so and so. I am a X, Y, and Z at X, Y, and Z company. I saw that you were speaking at VetSecCon. I thought it'd be good to connect." Perfect, right? I would 100% take that connection, right? Also, you can also connect with hiring managers. Let's say you have a job that you're really interested in, right? Let's say it's for Microsoft, to make one up. Find the hiring manager that's associated with that job position and connect with them. Say, "Hey, I just applied to this job opportunity. I wanted to learn more about it. Can you give me some guidance of what I need to prepare for a potential interview?" And 90% of the time, people will reply and say, "Sure, let's connect." It's not that hard, right? You just need to put yourself out there and connect. Now, you can either join or create Discord channels, right? Discord, again, is a fantastic platform to communicate. If you want to join Republic of Hackers, you can literally just look us up, Republic of Hackers. It is probably the first link. But if you want to create your own, it's very easy to create a server on Discord, and it's very easy to advertise. There's plenty of advertising websites that you can use. This is my personal favorite, which is creating LinkedIn posts. And the reason why I say that is because LinkedIn is a professional platform, and you have a lot of CEOs, you have a lot of founders, a lot of hiring managers, and a lot of people willing to learn from you on your LinkedIn posts, right? So don't be afraid to say something wrong. I've said many things wrong. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, I got a message from someone that said, "Hey, just let you know, your post isn't this vulnerability, it's actually this." And when I looked back and I did a bit more research, I realized, oh my God, I messed up. So I acknowledged my mistake and I said, "Sorry for the mistype. Maybe I'll do another post about that vulnerability that I was supposed to be talking about." Right? So taking constructive criticism isn't always a bad thing. It can only help you grow. So creating LinkedIn posts or even commenting on people's posts, do something to put yourself out there, right? Make yourself different. If you do create LinkedIn posts, you can turn it into a quote unquote blog, right? Now, if you do want to create a blog, there's a ton of various options, such as creating a custom, GitHub pages. You can create a Hashnode page or a Medium page. If you want to create a blog, something that I'm going to say, try to stick with Medium. And the reason why I say that is because unless you want traction on your posts, you should probably stick to Medium. If you just want to post to say that you have a website and that you have a blog, feel free to create a custom one. But if you want the traction and if you want the free traffic, I strongly recommend picking Medium, right? It's free. You can upload whatever you want into different organizations, and people most of the time will see it because people follow those organizations. So let's talk a bit about creating the content, right? How can we create valuable content? Well, first thing is to talk about something that you recently learned, right? Let's say you're doing a certification course and you just now learned about an SQL injection vulnerability. Talk about it. That's it. Just talk about it. Say, "Hey, SQL injection vulnerabilities are common within modern day web applications. While they shouldn't be, here are the steps you can take to prevent SQL injections," and list a few, right? Doesn't have to be a crazy list, but just show that you have that knowledge, right? Expand. Ask a question at the end and say, "Hey, what SQL injection vulnerabilities have you found in the real world?" And I guarantee people are going to say, "Hey, I found this, this, and that. I've done this." As a matter of fact, SQL injections also have an automated tool called SQL Map or Gyri. You can even use Burp Suite Pro if you want, right? So things like that. Try to communicate with people. Try to also not only what you recently learned, but review courses, right? So what I've done in the past is after I'm done with the course, I'll take ECPBT, for example. I would review the course. I would create an article and I would review the course. I would say, hey, this is what I learned. This is what you should know before taking the course, right? Maybe try out the EJPT before you take the ECPBT, right? Stuff like that to show, hey, you know, this is a cert for more advanced professionals, but you can always try this certification instead. And I guarantee people are going to say, what about this certification? Have you taken this certification? Have you heard about this certification? What can you say about the current certification that you are trying to take and review? Right? Again, building out that conversation. Discuss struggles. I can't tell you how many times I've struggled to come up with a topic for LinkedIn. So instead, I flip it around and I say, okay, I'm going to try to discuss something that happened to me in cybersecurity that I just can't wrap my mind around. Right? The first struggle that I had in cybersecurity was I didn't know where to start, right? Or transition. At first, I was a web developer, right? I loved doing front end and I started to learn a bit about back end, but I didn't know how to break into cybersecurity. So that was a struggle. And instead of me, trying to think of a post, I just talked about my struggles. Okay, this is what I struggled with, and here's how I overcame it. I started to learn Linux, right? I started to go on to try hack me and hack the box, and I started to learn the different fundamentals of penetration testing, right? I started to do more research about various different job titles of penetration testing. Should I go into red teaming? Should I do pen testing? What is vulnerability scanning, right? All these different things, but you can talk about it, right? Because at the end of the day, your platform is your platform and you are your own person. You can say whatever you want on your platform. Obviously, don't say anything hateful, right? Be positive, like I mentioned, and try to act as successful as possible. Even if you're struggling with a course or you're struggling with a certification, say, I know that I could do better next time, right? I know that I can do this, right? People want to see you as motivated as possible because they're more inclined to talk to you and want to connect with you if you are positive and act as successful as possible, even if you're going through a rough time. I promise it works. Maybe even researching a new vulnerability that came out, right? The Move It vulnerability was a huge vulnerability, right? So talk about it. Be like, hey, I did some research on the Move It vulnerability. Here's how it works. Here's what you do to defend it, right? If you have any questions, I strongly recommend looking at the Move It documentation. I mean, how hard is it, right? To create a post as simple as that. So here's the methodology when it comes to creating content. First step is to create a draft, right? Write whatever your heart desires. If you think of a topic, write it down, right? You can expand on it. After you expand on it, you can go to ChatGPT or any other AI framework for grammatical errors or to try to improve the content, right? What else can I add to the content? In addition, once you're done with that step, you can post it and share it with your friends or coworkers, right? This is what I do at my work. So if you ever, if you do follow me, you'll see that most of my coworkers are the first people to like my posts because I tell them, hey, like, share, re-comment, and, or repost and comment, right? Because the more people that like your posts quicker, your posts will gain more traction. So here are a few tips that I learned from LinkedIn creation, and that is to keep your posts as concise as possible and straight to the point. I used to write essays on LinkedIn, and I realized that that was not getting me the traction that I wanted. So I decided to start writing one-liners, and I have a demonstration that will go over in a few minutes. Add photos to each of your posts. So let's say you're talking about the Move It vulnerability. Get a photo online of the Move It logo, or get a photo of the CVE number, something like that, just to show the algorithm, hey, here's a photo, because it's more inclined to push your post to other people. Being able to create a hook and a question at the end of your post is crucial. I found that whenever you hook someone into your post, they're more inclined to read it all the way down. And then when they read it all the way down, they see the question at the end. And they're more inclined to comment on your posts about, hey, again, we'll go back to the SQL injection. Hey, I did find SQL injection on my recent penetration test. What happened was I found an ID parameter. And when I put a single quote, something weird happened with the server backend. and I was able to obtain an SQL injection using an automated tool called SQL Map. Right? People are more inclined to wanting to start a discussion if you have a comment at the end of your post. This is kind of self-explanatory, but use relevant hashtags, right? So if you're talking about penetration testing, for the most part, your post should have a hashtag for OffSec, InfoSec, cybersecurity, penetration testing. And depending on what penetration testing type it is, you could put, if it's a web application, you could put web application security. If it's internal, you could say network security. Or if it's cloud, you could say cloud security, right? So it really depends, right, what your post is about. If you use any sort of resources, please do not plagiarize. It's a terrible thing that's been currently happening with some, cybersecurity professionals is they start plagiarizing other people and they don't put in the comment section the sources that they used for their post. If you learn something from a different website, just put in the comments and say, here's the sources that I used for this post, right? It's not that difficult. People would appreciate you more if you do that and you be as transparent as possible, saying, here's the actual source in case you want to read up more about this vulnerability or about this technique. Also, I found this interesting. So the algorithm, whenever you post links inside of your posts, it's more inclined to decrease your viewership just because it thinks that it's sending people outside of LinkedIn. So what I do and what most people do now is they put brackets inside of the links to prevent it from turning into an actual URL, right? And what this does is this eliminates that whole viewership problem and the algorithm will act as normal, right? So I have an example here where you could take this and use it. Or if you have a link that you want to share, you can always put in brackets saying, the link is in the comment section and then put it in your sources saying, here's the Try Hack Me link that I was talking about. So I want to go over a quick example post. So here's a post here about, how I broke into penetration testing, right? And we see that, it's a bit choppy, right? Nothing is too crazy about this. But I do have a hook and I do have a question at the end, right? So, did you know that there are various steps to take before becoming a penetration tester? That would totally hook me, right? That would be like, oh my God, let's see what this person has to say. Underneath it, I give a few description, right, of what I did, right, which is that I learned Linux and learned about the CLI and how I navigated between, various different directories and stuff like that. And then I also list resources, so Try Hack Me and Over the Wire. Now, with these resources, right, I didn't put the link, I just put the name. So inside of my comment section, I would put the Try Hack Me and Over the Wire link. In addition, I also put a question at the bottom with the relevant hashtags. So this is the first step, right? Creating a draft post, seeing, just getting your idea on a notepad or, getting it on a piece of paper. The next step is to go onto ChatGPT and say, hey, does this sound good? Can you fix my grammar? Is there any mistakes within this post? And all you got to do is paste it. And ChatGPT will look at it and go, you know what? Your text sounds informative and engaging, but there are a few minor improvements that you can make. So the first one that ChatGPT fixed was the using a, right? I don't remember exactly what I put, but it was not using a. So it fixed that. And it just made my post flow a bit better. And at the bottom, it said your use of hashtags are appropriate for social media, right? You can put down saying, hey, this is a LinkedIn post, right? Or, or this is a Discord announcement that I'm going to be making. And it'll modify your post depending on the platform that you're trying to speak about. So in summary, the 4 steps to becoming a successful networking person, right? Or becoming a potential content creator is to put yourself out there, right? Don't be afraid. Imposter syndrome is obviously a thing. It'll always be a thing. But if you put yourself out there, you'll get more comfortable in your own shoes and you'll say, okay, you know what? If I post this, people may not like it. People may not understand it, but it's for me. It's to help me grow my understanding of cybersecurity. And again, people are going to critique you on your posts, but it's your job to take that critique and turn it into something positive, right? So just say, thank you. I'll look at this for next time, right? Don't be negative because then that can lead a bad rep. Also, like I already mentioned, right? Take criticism, right? People are going to say stuff. Connect with like minded individuals and recruiters. Again, connect with me, connect with CEOs, connect with hiring managers, connect with recruiters, connect with social media influencers, connect with everyone you can in cybersecurity. Because a lot of people post on LinkedIn, a lot of people have YouTube channels, and a lot of people want to connect, which is kind of weird to think, right? Because there's thousands of maybe even millions, 2, 3, 4 million people in cybersecurity that we don't know about, right? Because they don't post, they only connect with a handful of people, which is completely fine. But if you want to put yourself out there and if you want to potentially obtain a job, it's strongly recommended to start connecting with these recruiters and connecting with these like-minded individuals so you can get their insight, right? So if you message me something on LinkedIn that says something along the lines of, hey, I watched your presentation at VetSecCon, I thought it was really cool. Okay, that's kind of a dead sentence, right? What else can we do, right? Maybe throw in a question, like how did you break into cybersecurity, or do you have any other additional tips that you can give that you didn't mention within the presentation, right? Let's start a conversation instead of just connecting and being done with it. Creating valuable content and being consistent. It was hard for me to be consistent. It's almost like going to the gym, right? Once you go to the gym one time, you're like, maybe. But once you go to the gym for a month straight, it's consistency, right? You're gonna feel good, you're going to improve, and also you're going to see the difference, right, within a given time. So, for instance, my schedule is Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. EST. For you, it could be 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. EST. Really, it really depends on what you want to do. But being able to go out there and create your own content and say, hey, look, here's what I learned today. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to learn tomorrow. And just continuously post. Because I guarantee people are going to start noticing you. People are going to want to start connecting with you. And potentially, hiring managers are going to reach out to you and say, you know what? I have this position available. Let's connect and communicate about a salary, or let's get an interview going. It's happened to me many of times. And it can also happen to you. So, what are you waiting for? Let's connect. My username on LinkedIn is Evan-Isaac, and there is the Republic of Hackers link in case you want to join that as well. I do have time, I believe, to answer a few questions. It looks like we have about 20 minutes left. So, if anyone has any sort of questions or have any thoughts, please feel free to share. Yes, Medium is a free platform that you can just start publishing. Yeah. So the first question is, what kind of internship slash first job did you get? Was it like IT help desk or something of a higher discipline in cybersecurity? So a lot of people do go into the IT route. For me, I didn't really like the idea of IT, so I try to steer away as much as possible. I knew someone who worked at a bank, and he was able to get me in contact with the CISO of the bank. And after communications, I was able to obtain an internship as an information security analyst at a bank. And all my internships were very similar to that. I was able to basically wiggle my way into cybersecurity without needing to transition from IT into cybersecurity. So I was very fortunate of that. Um, my latest internship, though, was the offensive security internship, which gave me a very nice understanding of how offensive security consulting works and what I need to be the best, consultant for my current employer, Echelon. So I started out as an information security analyst to a researcher at a Fortune 500 company as a cyber lab researcher, where I was doing various different demos for executives and for various other departments, just showing the impact that it could have based on the APT group that I was, trying to emulate. Great question. Definitely, Chris. Yeah, something that I'll also mention, right, because this is the transitioning attack path, I should say, for VetSecCon is first off, thank you to all the veterans out there. Yo, I appreciate your service. I think all Americans can say that as well. We really appreciate what you do, and we're happy to have you on board for cybersecurity. We're looking forward to seeing a lot more veterans out there in the cybersecurity world. I will let me get a new link for you. It should not be expired, but I guess it happens. Let me quickly create a link for you. No limit, never generate. Okay. I'm going to paste the link in the chat in case anyone wants to join the Discord. So for people trying to transition, right, if you have absolutely no experience whatsoever, what I'm going to recommend is going to TryHackMe and start doing their fundamental paths. They have a ton of various different paths that you can use and basically grow, right, your knowledge in cybersecurity. They have a pre-security path, which teaches you the very fundamentals of cybersecurity, all the way up to a more advanced level, which is the penetration testing or SOC analyst paths that you can also take. So depending on which path you want to go, whether red team or blue team, you can pick the path of your choosing. In addition, right, there's also networks that you can play around with and learn about Active Directory hacking and various other networking capabilities. I am not sponsored by TryHackMe, so that was just a disclaimer. We have time for a few more questions, or anyone wants to have a conversation, could do that as well. All right. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you everyone for coming to my presentation. Again, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to start to get to know all of you, and have a nice rest of your day. Thank you.